Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 foods that will kill your testosterone. We'll be talking about ways to test it, assess it, and other lifestyle strategies, but we're going to dive into that topic here today. And again, this can impact women as well as men. Obviously, men have about 10 to 20 times more testosterone than women. So it's going to be a deal breaker there. But we're going to dive into this topic. Before we do, please put your comments down below and love to see you guys give me a thumbs up for the search algorithm. All right, so let's dive in. So how much testosterone does a man make in a day? So typical man, healthy man's going to make about 6 to 10 milligrams of testosterone a day. Healthy females going to make about 0.25, maybe zero point 0.5 milligrams a day. And people don't realize it, but when I talk about women's hormones, I say, hey, what hormone do you think a woman predominates the most, meaning makes the most? The typical thing is, estrogen or progesterone, but it's actually testosterone by 2 to 3x. So testosterone is one of the more predominant hormones that women make. Helps them deal with stress, helps them have a healthy libido, helps them put on muscle. So even though women have way less of it than us, the men, they still make a lot of it. And it's still a predominant hormone that they need to be on top of. So really, really important there. All right, so let me dive into the topic here. So first off, testosterone has been declining for the average male over the last century a large amount. I'm going to pull up an infographic on screen so you guys can see it. This is from NHANES database here, different studies using NHANES. And you could see it here. This is looking at testosterone in the 1960s. And it's talking about the average male was about 700. And then you can see the 80s. Now you're closer to 6. Here's the general trend line. And now you're about 400. Now you're about 80% reduction, or I should say about a 40% reduction from 700 to 400 there. So a big, big drop, right? Almost half. And so this is testosteronedecline.com. This is using NHANES database. And so that's a concern. We have this big drop. And so then now the question is, well, why is this drop happening? What are some of the environmental factors that are driving this? Right? We have to look at toxins. We have to look at what foods have gone up, what foods have decreased. These all play a massive role. What dietary changes have happened? Right. So obviously we know a whole bunch more processed foods occurred over the last 50. And then what happens if you went like 1920, 1910? I can imagine it'd only be even more crazy. So pretty nuts. Let me pull up another screen. So we'll talk about that. From a functional medicine side, we do a lot of lab testing. So I'll run free and total testosterone. We'll run SHGB, sex hormone binding globulin. We'll look at blood sugar and fasting insulin because that plays a major role in testosterone and upregulating the aromatase enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen. And so this is a big deal because we have more processed food. Anything more processed, more sugary, more processed fat, it's going to get that drive inflammation. It's going to get that aromatase enzyme upregulated and cause T to go to E, testosterone to estrogen. And women have similar issues because women can have PCOS. And PCOS with lots of insulin and processed foods, they can actually increase their androgens where men actually drop their androgens. So men tend to, with that aromatase enzyme, they will take their T and they will bring it to E, to estrogen. So that drops the testosterone. Women will take their E, estrogen, and bring it to testosterone. So it's still a major problem because it's probably one of the number one causes of infertility in women. And so most women want to be healthy and fertile and they want to be able to have a baby or at least have the option of having it. And so we want to make sure the hormones are dialed in. So I'm going to try to connect it to both male and female here because it's both an issue. I see it every day. So let me kind of dive in. Let me pull up my outline here for you guys so you guys can follow along with me. If you like the outline, let me know. Put it in the comments below. Say, I like the outline, Doc. All right, so big thing, testosterone free fall. Levels slip about 1% every year since mid-century. This is the 1% average. Now, you're typically in about half the average T than his grandfather did. Pretty nuts. Now, you're typically going to have a drop in testosterone from age 20 or 30 every year anyway, so there's a natural 1% drop anyway. But now we have this additional 1% drop from the average male a century ago. Pretty nuts. So big things out of the gate. What are the big chemicals? What are we being exposed a lot more to, right? PFAS, polyfluoroalkyl substances. These are the non-stick pans. Phthalates, right? Bisphenol A. And guess what? When it says, oh, my Nalgene bottle is BPA free, well, guess what? A lot of times those plastics still have BPS in it. So you got to be careful. So be careful of your deodorants. So go to environmentalworkinggroup.org or Skin Cosmetic Database and search all of your skincare products. A lot of times you can have phthalates in it. Again, phthalates make plastic soft, right? So when you see something that's like bendable and movable, that helps make it soft. So does the BPA. And again, phthalates, you're going to see them in deodorant, skincare products. So really be on top of that. Check that environmental working group. And again, even like old, stainless steel pans that have the non-stick, try to use like a green pan. Green pans are pretty good. They use a nice ceramic coating, more natural, more clean. And again, try to go for unscented personal care stuff. There's some, good ones out there. There's like Dr. Squatch, that's good. I use Schmidt's. Schmidt's is pretty good. I use the unscented, or I'll do like their sensitive line, which is like really clean. That gets a pretty good rating. You can compare it to the Cosmetic Skin Database, which is essentially part of EWG, Environmental Working Group. Those are big chemicals. Anytime you have pesticides like organochlorines, I didn't even put like glyphosate. We can even add mold toxins, right? Because mold, guess what, has estrogenic aspects to it. So I'll add mold. I'll add these other chemicals here. Now, talking about your plate and calories, I would say fats should even be up to half your calories should be fats. Because when you're eating healthy fats, that's the backbone for your cholesterol, right? When you're eating healthy fats, they're typically going to have proteins with it. If it's grass-fed beef, or if it's like shrimp or good seafood, you're going to get cholesterol with that. And guess what? Almost every single cholesterol-based hormone from your thyroid down, like below your thyroid, these are all going to be steroid-based hormones. They're almost always going to be cholesterol-based. Your hormones from like the thyroid up typically are peptide-based, which are protein-based, like peptide, protein. Cholesterol are going to have that backbone, and usually there's going to be fat, cholesterol, protein together. And so if you're not eating the raw material of those foods, that's going to be a problem. So you really want to be on top of that for sure. Okay. All right. So sugar, right? We talked about sugar already. Why? Because that upregulates the aromatase enzyme. Trans fats, that's going to be your processed vegetable oils that are damaged with heating. They're also going to make your cell membranes very inflexible. I did a video yesterday talking about fish oil and healthy fats and how they are PPAR agonists, right? PPAR, I'll get the exact wording of it. It's quite complex. PPAR. The peroxisome proliferator activated receptor. These are the receptor sites on the fat cells on that cell membrane. And again, healthy fats dock to it, and it plays a major role in regulating gene expression, metabolism, dealing with insulin, dealing with lipid metabolism and glucose metabolism. So healthy fats bind into that peroxisome proliferator activated receptor site. They're agonists. They stimulate it. PPAR receptor sites. A lot of medications do it too, but they have side effects. They don't, you want to plug into the root cause nutrients that are going to do it. So making sure the good healthy fats are in their fish oil, and again, the more saturated, the better, because they're less likely to be oxidized and go bad. And again, a lot of the plant-based oils, the extraction process to get the fats out of them tend to be damaged unless they're cold pressed. Alcohol is a big one. If you're going to do alcohol, keep the sugar down, keep it dry, keep it to like a Tito's vodka, club soda, Topo Chico in there, squeeze a lime, do a nice dry champagne or Prosecco, keep it dry, keep it clean. That's better. The more sugar, obviously, the worse it gets. Keep the alcohol cleaner. Good whiskey as well. The hard alcohols tend to be actually pretty decent. Just hydrate, drink a mineral water, drink a Topo Chico, a Perrier, a Gerolsteiner, good minerals in between. You can always take activated charcoal and NaC with it when you do. Alcohol also drops blood sugar, right? This is what restaurants do. It's a whole scam. They give you a bunch of alcohol. It's the first thing they start off with. That drops your blood sugar. Then what happens? You eat the pretzels or the bread. That creates a reactive hypoglycemic response, creates more appetite. Then you order more food, more dessert, etc. Right? So when you're eating and drinking alcohol, always try to have some protein in your stomach first. Take some charcoal, take some NAC, take some vitamin C, and you're good to go if you're going to do it. Moving. So I try to stand all day, get 10,000 steps, put some resistance through your body, kettlebell swings, lunges, step ups, compound movements. These are movements that have multi-joint action, always going to be good. You can do cold exposure too, right? I got a cold plunge right over here, about 48 degrees to about 3 minutes, a couple times a week. It's great. Infrared saunas are great too, increase growth hormone. So you can do contrast bath to make the last 30 seconds to a minute of your shower nice and cold. Great ways to do it. And again, the things that we'll look at free T, we'll look at total T, we'll look at SHGB. We can look at luteinizing hormone, or FSH. If they're chronically high, there could be a pituitary issue or a chronic stress issue. Where's estradiol at? Do we have estrogen problems, right? Do we have estrogen problems that are inhibiting our feedback loop, right? High estrogen from these chemicals up here, right? This can decrease our feedback loop. So now we don't have the signaling from the LH and the FSH to make our testicles or genitals make hormones. So that's a big thing. Now, I talked about food today. So, what are some of the big foods? So, I'm telling about what you can do. So, the foods that are killing your testosterone, soy is a big one. Now, there's not a lot of studies on soy impacting it, but I can just tell you soy is in a lot of processed food. So if you're eating soy, you're probably getting it in a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar, a lot of processed junky fats with it. And anytime we add more estrogenic load to our system, it's not going to be good. So there are studies that saying it doesn't impact it, but in my opinion, it's something that you want to clinically pull out. If you look at the evolution of soy and how it was consumed more as a condiment. It was also tended to be consumed more fermented. Think miso, natto, tempeh. If you read the book Ploy of Soy or the book The Whole Soy Story, they'll talk about Asian cultures actually consuming far less soy, and it was of that fermented variety. So be mindful of that. So definitely keeping the soy and the phytoestrogens out. Plus, it's everywhere now. Now you have soy burgers, the Impossible Burger, all these things that have such a large amount of soy that evolutionarily we never would have consumed. Even in Asian cultures, we wouldn't have consumed it at that level. So that's a big deal. Anything that's in a processed high fructose corn syrup. Why is that the worst? High fructose corn syrup does not signal leptin, which makes you feel full like other sugars do. So you're more likely to overeat, not feel full, create a blood sugar roller coaster, and surge your insulin. Anything that has excess high fructose corn syrup. So we're at 2. I would say excess omega-6 and processed seed oils or vegetable oils, unless they're cold pressed, single source, they're going to impact your cell membrane. They're going to impact that PPAR receptor site on the cell membrane. It's going to impact your metabolism. It's going to make your membranes more unhealthy and more stiff. After that, not having enough good cruciferous vegetables, right? These are going to have diindol methane, indole 3-carbinol. They're going to have sulfur compounds in there that are going to help with estrogen detoxification. They're going to convert your 4 and 16 estrogen metabolites to estrogen 2, easier to metabolize, less damaging. And they're also going to provide the sulfur to help clear everything out. And I would say number 5 is being vegan or vegetarian and not eating enough healthy animal protein. So animal protein provides the building block and the raw material to make your hormones, but it also has the extra amino acids, especially the sulfur amino acids, which are vital for your cytochrome P450 oxidase pathway 2 and 3, which are very sulfur dependent. Glutathione conjugation, cysteine, N-acetylation, methylation. These are sulfur amino acids that are involved in these pathways. And if you're not eating good animal protein, or let's say you have low hydrochloric acid, low enzymes, low bile, and you're not breaking it down, that can be a deficit too. And then some people, if they're really sensitive gut issues, you could have some lectin issues. You may need to experiment with cutting out oxalates. I don't like to go to that extreme because there's a lot of healthy foods that have those compounds in them, but sometimes that's an issue. So if you have a lot of gut health or a lot of gut inflammation, you may have to go on a more extreme kind of autoimmune diet for a period of time. So I just wanted to review everything and make sure we hit all the big stuff. If you want to dive in deeper, so first off, thyroid can be impacted too because your thyroid and testosterone go together, right? Healthy metabolism, healthy energy, healthy, thyroid function. You're tending to have healthy anabolic metabolism too as well. And so my new book is out called The Thyroid Reboot, thyroidreboot.com. Take a look at that. I talk about the testosterone and thyroid connection. They're important. Healthy metabolism is a big deal. When you have low thyroid, you tend to have insulin problems, cortisol problems. Guess what? Those same things lower testosterone too, okay? And so if you want to dive in deeper, if you want more support, right, there'll be a link down below where you can reach out to my staff and team. We see patients worldwide on the functional medicine side. So if you want that good support, we can do lab testing anywhere in the US or even international to look at your hormones, to look at your diet, look at your lifestyle and see where these impediments are coming from. Let me know. And then outside of that, take a little bit of the information regarding food or other strategies or mindset things to really work on getting your T up. Also, sleep, getting to bed before midnight, getting 8 hours is going to be key to help with the growth hormone. And growth hormone improves the potentiation of your testosterone. When you have low HGH, it's going to put a drag on your testosterone levels too. So you want to have good HGH to bring that up. All right, guys, Dr. J here. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know in the comments. Links down below for the book and for consult support if you need it. Have an awesome day. Take care. Bye, y'all.